Hello, viewer. Welcome to Full Record Jacket. This is Phil and Ben speaking to you directly through the medium of YouTube and one of our many music discussions. And on this particular occasion, Ben, we've got a fantasy.
Oh, Phil. Oh, tell me all about it.
Can you guess?
Can I keep my clothes on, or do I need to take them off?
Can you guess what my fantasy is all about?
Well, I already know what it's about. It's about me. Is it?
Well, not quite. It's about the Beatles.
Oh.
Who
are they? Why does my face look super shiny? Look.
I don't know. Probably the weather or something.
I'm just like a massive mirror. My forehead. I should have had a solar panel put on it. So the Beatles. So
yeah.
What, they covered in honey, licorice?
Well, this is a fantasy set list, okay? So this is, I like to do these things.
Yeah.
So the
so no honey involved.
No, none at all. Oh. Not even a taste of honey.
Ooh.
Or
milk
even
and honey.
Or honey pie.
Honey pie. Well, milk and honey was more later, Lennon, wasn't it?
Yeah, those songs don't feature. But no, in this particular fantasy, this is about what set list would the Beatles have done in 1969. So there's two ways we can do this little fantasy. We could say that they played Woodstock in 1969, which was, I think, August 69.
The height of psychedelia.
Yeah, or we could say that the Beatles are going to appear at Glastonbury and they're going to be brought in a time capsule to appear, okay?
I think they should do Glastonbury this year.
In a time capsule, right.
In a time capsule, yeah.
So the thing about this is the 1969 Beatles, okay? So
can they be brought to the gig by Bill and Ted in the phone box?
If you really want that, yeah.
Excellent!
Okay, so this is the 1969 version. So Paul's got his beard, John's got his long beard and his round glasses and his long hair. It's the Beatles that you see on the front of the Abbey Road zebra crossing. It's the ones that are in the Get Back documentary. And this is... So they've got all the songs. We've got all the songs in the catalogue to choose from because we'll take
all the hits.
We'll take it that the Abbey Road songs all exist and are there for the taking, and also the songs that were done for Get Back, Let It Be, okay, and the whole catalogue before that. Okay, so I'm trying to work out what would they do as their set list for this performance. So the 1969 Beatles in the time capsule, they're going to be on... Are they on the Pyramid Stage? I think they've got to be, haven't they?
Yeah.
So... What do you reckon, Ben? I'm going to go through this, and then you can tell me what you think of this. Okay?
I know what I would do with the encore, the last song, and I know what the last song before the encore would be.
Okay. Well, I'm doing this based on what I think they would have done, the 1969 incarnation of them, and what songs would have got through the filter of them all having to approve it. Yeah. So, So for example, if Paul wanted to do Obla-dee, Obla-da, John would have said, no, we're not doing that, so it's not going to go on there.
No, because it's rubbish.
John hated
it's not. I actually quite like Obla-dee, Obla-da. It makes me happy.
John apparently got a bit fed up with it, didn't he? And we know there's certain songs that he probably would have vetoed. So it's 1969. It's the 1969 version. So I've decided that they're going to start with Come Together. They're going to come on, and they're not going to have any big fanfare. They're going to come on.
No, because they could come on to the background chant that bass line, that dum 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 dum.
Yeah, it could be.
Dum, dum, dum,
and it could be building it up, whatever. Paul could be building up the bass and all that. So I decided to do that. I know it's a bit predictable because Abbey Road starts like that, but they start with Come Together, and then they do I've Got a Feeling.
Feeling deep inside, oh yeah.
So then we're on to a Paul vocal.
Yeah, I can,
Bit of John on there, and it's so, and we know they could play that live because they did it at the rooftop concert.
Yeah.
And then something for the festival, something a little bit hippie. They're going to delve back, and they're going to dust off from Rubber Soul, The Word.
The word, yes,
it's the word love, because that kind of fits in with the whole festival vibe, and I can see that. So that's the next one.
Yeah, I can see Come Together being the first one. Yeah, yeah. It's got a nice flow to it.
Okay, so then it's time for George to take centre stage, and it's going to be "Here Comes the Sun."
Comes the sun. Na, na, na.
Okay,
Here comes the... Yeah, yeah. It keeps him with the pace from the track before. So
and it's got a sort of, it mirrors their early sound, and it's kind of,
yeah, yeah.
So "Here Comes the Sun," and then they're going to do "We Can Work It Out."
We can work it out.
Because they've got to do a few from a bit further back in the catalogue.
Yeah, yeah.
Although they're very much forward looking, weren't they? They probably would have done. I'm saying they would mainly have done songs that they'd recently written, but they're going to do "We Can Work It Out."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to build the picture up of the tracks in my head as we're going.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then it's obviously you get joint vocals on that one. Then it's John taking the vocal mic for "Yer Blues," and that's obviously quite rocky and bluesy.
Yeah, yeah,
This is what
yeah. I
they
think it takes the tempo up a little bit more, doesn't it?
could see him doing that at Woodstock. It would have been quite hippie, and we know he played it live with
Yeah, yeah.
Eric Clapton. So that's Yer Blues, and then they're going to continue in a sort of slightly retro vein. And I know John Lennon liked this song, and that's "Oh Darling" from Abbey Road, because
Yeah, a bit of a
it's a
bit.
doo-woppy, rock and rolly
Yeah,
doo-woppy
yeah. A
thing.
bit of a left field one. That one.
Yeah. Now
I think.
the other thing about this is that I've said that all of they're going to have guests on, okay, because it's Glastonbury and the bands often have guests on, don't they? So the Beatles are going to have 3 guests on, and George, Paul, and John are each going to bring on a guest.
Go on.
So, but it's not coming on just yet because the next
All right.
they've done "Oh Darling" and they're going to go into "Back in the USSR" to up the tempo a little bit.
See, I thought that might have been the one that opens it because it
Yeah,
could have come onto the aeroplane sort of.
yeah, you may well be right in this. You see,
But then I do like the idea of them coming onto that, even
to
if it's
come
just a
together.
backing track of dum 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 dum.
Yeah.
That sort of.
Okay.
So both of those could have worked. They could have both been swapped out for each other. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think come together sort of. You need to get people on side, don't you, with your first track? So
This is obviously a little bit more the sort of slightly back to roots Beatles. There's not going to be much psychedelic stuff on this because I've got a feeling that I know people have done things like "A Day in the Life" and "Strawberry
yeah,
Fields Forever" live, and the bootleg Beatles have done those things live, but I don't think that John Lennon would have been up for doing something like "A Day in the Life" live, because I think he was very much that those were studio creations, and I'm not sure that he would have been that keen on trying to do them live. So that's why some of the big psychedelic songs are not in this. So after "Back in the USSR," it's switching to John's vocal. It's "Don't Let Me Down."
Don't let me down.
And again, we know they could play that because they played it on the roof.
On the roof, yeah.
So "Don't Let Me Down," and that's kind of groovy, I think, for a festival.
Don't let me down.
So there we go, and then Paul's going to bring on. It's a very brief. Well, this isn't a total Paul solo thing because I think John will have vetoed Paul doing his solo thing, right?
Oh, what like he used to do yesterday?
Yeah. John's vetoed that, so they're going to do a Paul ballad, but the band are going to be on it, and Paul's bringing on his guest, and Paul's guest is going to be Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
And they're going to do "Here, There, and Everywhere." So Brian is going to provide a bit of a backing vocal.
There, and everywhere.
So this is the kind of ballad section. So after that, it's "Something" from George. Okay. And then John is going to do "In My Life."
I love him. Do you know what? Something I think's got an exquisite vocal on it by George. But there's something about the song "In My Life," because I think it's "In My Life" that starts off the Beatles anthology, isn't it? I think on
the video version, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So "In My Life" is done in a live version, and then in order to up the tempo, Paul's going to take to the piano, and this I think John would go with this as well because it's a bit Fats Domino, a bit rock and roll. It's Lady Madonna.
Yeah, because that gets the tempo back up. And
It's the tempo back up.
yeah.
And then they're going to do an extended jam.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they, perhaps I should have said they have a guest on here, but anyway, they're going to do I Want You, She's So Heavy.
Bit of dirtiness.
And that's going to jam on for a while. And it's going to be a bit like the record. So after that, I'm not sure whether there's an encore on this. I haven't really arranged it into an encore. But after I Want You, She's So Heavy, it's George time again. And George is bringing on his guest, who is going to be Eric Clapton. And it's what you expect it to be. So, I'm a bit predictable with this one. But, the Beatles with Eric Clapton doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yeah, I can imagine a really good guitar solo in that.
People are going to want that, aren't they? So they're going to do that. So they do While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
I can imagine that being a bit tub thumping as it goes through. Just sort of real heavy. Yeah, I'm feeling that. Then, old slow hands.
So then John has got his guest and he's bringing on Sean's godparent. Who's that?
Sean, is it?
Certainly one Sean's John. It's Elton John.
Yeah.
So Elton John's coming on, and they're going to do something that he did actually record with Elton John, and that is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So it's going to be the Elton.
You've got a little psychedelic number in there.
So there's a little bit of a psychedelic number in there, but they're going to do it more to the Elton John version and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So, and then it's Hey Jude.
Hey Jude.
Which I think has got to be in there because got to get everybody singing along and na 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 and everything. So then we've done Hey Jude. And John Lennon loved Hey Jude. So he would definitely have approved it being in there. And then it's going to be, well, the audience has done Hey Jude, so they're all in a bit of a party mood. So then it's time for Ringo to take the mic, and it's going to be With a Little Help from My Friends. And I think that would have been approved because I think John Lennon liked that song as well. I think he may have been the primary author of that. I'm not sure actually who the primary author is. I know it's a Lennon McCartney, but so With a Little Help from My Friends. So the audience is, great. Everyone's having a party, waving their arms in the air. And you could say maybe that they did that and they had the guests came back on as well because it's With a Little Help from My Friends. So three guests came back.
Didn't that happen? Was it the Rock and Hall Fame induction or there's something where it had Ringo and Paul on where you had all like Green Day and...
There was one, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember. It wasn't Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was something along those sort of lines where they all on stage together, man.
But we're getting close to the 90 minutes. So the next track, because I did limit myself to, I think it's 18 tracks on this. Hang on, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, hang on, I don't know how many I've got now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, probably 9, 10, 11,
Welcome
12,
to
13.
Basic
14,
GCSE
15,
Maths
16.
with Phil Smith.
It's 20 tracks.
20 tracks.
Yeah, it's 20 songs. So they're done With a Little Help from My Friends. And then they're going to finish it with some rock and roll because they were originally a rock and roll band. So they're going to do Get Back.
Yeah.
They're going to do a Paul one and then a John one. So after Get Back, they're going to finish with, and this is a bit out of left field, but I reckon John Lennon would have liked to do this as the closing number. And it's going to be Some Other Guy, which is the Lever Stoller song with which John Lennon was a bit obsessed at one time. They used to play that in the Cavern and in Hamburg and everything. So they're just going to finish with rock and roll and they're going to go out with Some Other Guy. And that's that. And it's a bit...
See, I would have finished with Twist and Shout.
They could have gone for Twist and Shout. I just wonder whether... Yeah, they could have done.
Because I think I would have got people like...
And you're probably right that would have been the correct choice, really, because that would have got everybody
Yeah.
going. So it's a little bit of a left field Beatles set list in a way, because it hasn't got, there's lots of hits that are not on there, and it's
When
maybe
you
more
say
of a
a lot of
connoisseur.
hits are not on there, you mean a lot of hits that
A
aren't
lot,
on
lot,
there.
lot, lot of hits on there, but
Yeah.
it's a later Beatles. It's a 1969 Beatles, and it's maybe a bit of a connoisseur's choice. But what do you reckon to my set list, folks? Give us your comments and tell me where I got it totally wrong. What would your dream Beatles set list be?
I
Um,
maybe would have put
yeah,
Ticket to Ride in.
that's a good choice. Yeah, I was thinking, you see, that they would probably have not wanted to do too much of the sort of Beatlemania era stuff, because this is the
Yeah.
1969 version. Although Ticket to Ride's a fine song, of course, it's an excellent song. So maybe they could have done that in
But
their
I'm happy with your
1969.
list. I'm like I
You're
said,
happy with the
you could have swapped out Come Together and what was the other one we said?
start with back in the USSR.
SSR.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Quite,
could have done that.
But
Yeah,
apart from that, I think it. As you were saying them, I was trying to picture them in my head, and sort of it's given me a headache. I've actually got a raging headache now, but yeah, I can't fault you. Probably would have ended with Twist and Shout, but we'll leave it to people in the comments to slag you off for that one, Phil.
well, I'm going to stick a Spotify playlist, and I've put live versions of the songs where they exist, and these may not be Beatles versions, they may be solo versions, but live versions of those songs. So you can play that playlist if you really want to, and recreate this fantasy Beatles concert in your mind.
And they can invite me round. I could be the crowd cheering in the background for them. Yay, Paul!
So
Yay,
what do you
George!
think of that? What should be the
Yay!
next fantasy set list? Let us know in your comments, and we will provide one. Thanks for watching. All the best.